Doom and Doom Eternal need no introduction. The original game blew everyone's expectations completely out of the water in 2016 and received critical acclaim for its fantastic, fast-paced, frantic gameplay that perfectly captured what Doom was about and made you feel like a true badass, a real force to be reckoned with. The recently released Doom Eternal expanded on the groundwork the first game established and cranked everything up to overdrive. The game is so much faster with brand new mechanics like swinging, climbing and boosting. The game has fundamentally been changed, so you really need to utilise every weapon you have and constantly keep moving to stay alive. Ammo is more scarce, enemies are stronger and have more in-depth attack patterns. The game pushes you to your limit. Doom 2016 also could be played like this, but only if the player chose to. Unless you're playing on an extremely hard difficulty, the game could essentially be walked through with the super shotgun. Doom Eternal is different. You truly need to utilise every weapon and every aspect of your environment to succeed, but I'm sure most of you are aware of Doom Eternal. The game has received universal acclaim upon its release. I'm here to talk about how Doom Eternal deserves true online multiplayer. Now, I am a huge Doom fan, and I'm completely aware that Doom is mainly about the campaign. That's the way it has always been, all the way from the original Doom on DOS. And Doom Eternal's campaign is truly something else, but all the mechanics Eternal has created or improved upon from Doom 2016, in my opinion, just beg to be used in an arena-style shooter. Now, before getting into this, there are a couple things to address. Some of you may say, what about battle mode? And yes, strictly speaking, Doom Eternal does technically have multiplayer. And from what I've played, battle mode is fun and can be incredibly tense. I think the game mode is good and id have done a good job on balancing the two demons against the Slayer. But at the end of the day, I just can't see myself staying invested in this one game mode for more than 2 or 3 weeks tops. No, I'm talking about a full traditional online multiplayer with game modes and maps. Now, the second thing to address is Doom 2016. That game had an online multiplayer. It was clearly an afterthought as id didn't even develop it. They handed it off to Certain Affinity, which is a company known for helping on the multiplayer components of Call of Duty and Halo. Doom's multiplayer was not received anywhere near as high as the campaign and was just kind of seen as a lackluster experience for many, but being completely honest, I really enjoyed the time I spent with it. One of the main complaints was the inclusion of classes, which I do agree with. The fundamental mechanics of Doom 2016 as a whole game are like an arena shooter. Fast movement, no reloading, you need to find ammo, and when you're out you need to find more. The levels in the campaign are filled with things like bounce pads, and for the most part there is no aiming down sights. The whole game just feels very Quake-like, and I'm sure many of you can agree with me there. The multiplayer really didn't resonate with many people because it was just in this awkward place where the game clearly was made with arena shooters in mind. I mean, when you look at things like the map design, ammo and health everywhere on the battlefield due to the aforementioned no reloading and also the lack of regenerating health, it comes across clearly as an arena shooter. While things like the loadouts, some of the game modes and the demons you could transform into in a match made it feel very Call of Duty-esque. So that leaves Doom 2016's multiplayer in this weird in-between limbo, where it takes many of the fundamentals of an arena shooter, but then brings in some of the mechanics from games like Call of Duty. Now, while I personally did like this, as I felt it put a unique spin on the arena shooter genre, I can completely understand why many just weren't a fan of it. And being completely honest, while I did enjoy the multiplayer, I would have much rather preferred a traditional arena shooter multiplayer. I mean, loadouts in a Doom game? Really? But what I propose is for Doom Eternal to fully commit to an arena-style shooter multiplayer mode. Now let's break this down. So just looking at the mechanics alone for Doom Eternal, I think they would work perfectly for an arena-style shooter. Now the main thing here that some people may use to argue against Doom Eternal working for an arena shooter is the movement. Now, Doom Eternal is fast. It's a very fast-paced game, but it is true that the Doomslayer's base speed for an arena shooter is on the slow side. This was a common complaint on 2016 Doom multiplayer, as the movement of your character was not as fast as typical arena shooters. Doom 2016 combated this by having relatively small maps, so the speed doesn't feel as jarring. The issue is with Doom Eternal, the game gets very fast, but a lot of that speed is achieved from swinging from the environment, using the air dash, and most importantly, in my opinion, equipping the blood-fueled rune. For those of you that don't know, runes are essentially abilities you can unlock in the game. They're similar to perks in Call of Duty, but much more essential. You can equip up to 3 runes, and one of the most common and, in my opinion, best is the blood-fueled rune. This essentially gives you a huge increase in speed for a limited time after any glory kill, and since in the game you will be performing glory kills constantly for health, it results in making the gameplay very, very fast. With this rune equipped, your movement is on par and maybe even faster than most arena shooters. What I propose is for a multiplayer mode to increase the movement speed to something close to Blood Fuel. Maybe slightly slower just so things don't feel too slippery, but still fast enough to distinctly feel on par with games like Quake. Okay, so now with the movement speed increased, let's look at other mechanics in place. Now let's look at climbing and swinging. As a Doomslayer, a new gameplay mechanic is the addition to swing off poles. I think this would work great in an arena shooter. The swinging allows players to get height advantages over the other players and promotes precise aiming, which is something arena shooters specialise in. It would also add some verticality into the maps and make matches more exciting since there's more angles players can attack from. The climbing mechanic is more slow paced than swinging, but I still feel it could be utilised, just not as heavily. The actual climbing off surfaces is quite slow, but simply attaching yourself to climbable surfaces and then jumping off allows you to get some serious airtime, which again can be used to give verticality to maps and make matches more interesting. Now let's look at combat. Doom Eternal, in my opinion, would work perfectly as an arena shooter. All of the guns are unique and no one gun screams out to me as just overpowered as fuck, not including the BFG. Now here is what I envision for combat. The class system is gone. No fucking loadouts this time. No, we're going classic arena shooter. Everyone will start out with one weapon. Let's say there's a shotgun, as it's the first weapon you have access to in the campaign. Then from there, just like Quake and Unreal Tournament, weapons are scattered around the map along with ammo, health and armour. With this puts everyone in the same boat from the offset. This mechanic encourages exploration of the maps and discourages camping. It pushes the player to learn the maps in detail so they know where the weapon locations are and get the advantages over other players. Now while we are on the subject of combat, I want to talk about demons. Now demons were used in 2016's Doom multiplayer and got a mixed response. If you don't know what this is, essentially on all of the maps in 2016 Doom multiplayer, there were specific locations where demon spawners would spawn. Once these spawned, the first person to run into it would transform into a demon and be able to run rampage until they were eventually killed or their timer ran out. There were a variety of demons to choose from, and you selected what demon you wanted to spawn into in your loadout before a match. Once you selected your demon, every time you get the demon spawner, you will always spawn as your chosen character until you change it between games. Now it is true that the demons were something more akin to a kill streak from Call of Duty, and distinctively not arena shooter like. However, in Doom Eternal I feel like while the demons don't belong in the typical game modes, they could perhaps be reworked into a specific game mode. It could choose to allow players to choose what demon they want to spawn in as, or they could go for something like a randomizer, where the demon spawner would automatically select one of the demons at random for all the players. This game mode would need tweaking and balancing, but I feel like it could make a competent game mode and satisfy that group of people that did enjoy the demons from the first game. Lastly, there's environments. Unlike Doom 2016, which only really had two themes, Mars and Hell, Doom Eternal has a much more wide array of environments, each with distinct looks. With Doom Eternal, some of the environments are just truly stunning and aesthetically would fit right in to make arenas to battle on. From the destroyed cities on Earth to ancient civilizations to Mars, the themes of the levels in this game would work perfectly to create a wide array of maps with interesting and appealing designs. Now, the fact is that Doom Eternal getting a full multiplayer experience like this is extremely unlikely, and mainly for one reason: Quake Champions. Put simply, Quake Champions is an arena shooter that is still supported by id, and to create an arena multiplayer on Doom could result in the two games competing over each other, which just makes no sense for a business. But while Quake Champions is a good game, statistically speaking the game is not doing well and hasn't for a really long time. Basically from its inception it struggled to keep a solid player base and just hasn't really performed that well. At least as I'm making this video, who knows, it could turn the game around. Quake Champions also isn't a pure arena shooter, as it incorporates champions, which are characters with abilities similar to games like Paladins and Overwatch. This turned a lot of people off initially, and Doom Eternal could be the game to offer a classic arena style multiplayer mode. It also should be said that as of this recording, Quake Champions is only available on PC, and there is currently no plans from what I can gather to bring it to consoles. So Doom Eternal's multiplayer hypothetically has the potential for a much bigger player base, and gives more people the opportunity to have a modern arena shooter they can play. Who knows, id Software do create a multiplayer mode for Doom Eternal. It could potentially be done through updates, but being honest, I doubt that it would ever happen. Don't mistake this video for me trashing on Doom Eternal. The game is incredible, and the lack of traditional multiplayer doesn't make the game any less good. I'm not one of these people who thinks that every new game needs a multiplayer mode. The campaign alone is enough of a reason to buy Doom Eternal, let alone battle mode, and the plan for DLC down the line. I'm only making this video because in today's day and age, where so many shooters feel bland and copy and paste, when a game like Doom Eternal comes along and completely reinvents the FPS genre, it's such a shame to not see a multiplayer mode, as in my opinion the game's mechanics would just work so well, so it would provide a truly unique experience.